Hey, y'all, Choice here. Thank you so much for joining me again for another session of Choice Spirit. Here, I want to talk a little bit about some outside stuff from the human perspective. Let's put it that way. We have the spiritual perspective and we have the human perspective, okay? So let's speak from the human perspective. I was there. People are now coming up and speaking out more about speaking truth rather than to stay silent while people are taking away your rights, your liberties, your freedom to speak, your mind, and your freedom to choose for yourself, your body, your freedoms in all areas. And what's interesting about this, there's something called subversion. When someone subverts you or a people or a nation, there's a method to the madness. There's a methodology behind in how they or how it's done. Okay? So this is how it is. You ever in a situation with people and they kind of like want to break you down and then build you up to what they want you to be? You know, you get a lot of people like that. They're like, okay, I like you, but I need you to change some things about yourself so that we can actually make this thing work. Okay? Now, some people say it outright. You know, I enjoy you. I enjoy your company. I enjoy being here. With that said, there's some things that you do that really gets to me. And so that person then has a choice to make those changes or not, or say, nah, I like me just as I am, so keep it moving. Well, I know this is a far off. This subversion thing is when someone comes around, they pretend they're your friend or not, it can go either way. They begin to pick at you. They begin to form a pecking order. You know, a pecking order. You peck on the next weakest one, and the next week, that weak one pecks on the weakest one, and you know, there's a pecking order. Okay, so they come in and they set up like a pecking order system. I'm just using this as an example. Then they also may go into where you're being indoctrinated and begin to put in some things that will go into your indoctrination process, or begin to have you studying or reading or learning or listening to, participating in activities that are degrading, demoralizing, eventually takes away your self-esteem, your sense of self. Okay? So that can be done in many different ways and in many different places. Okay? You can do that in law enforcement. That can happen in schools. That can happen in the way that the laws are set up for the land, in government situations, all kinds of things. They put things in place. They put laws in place that then begins to slowly take away the rights and the liberties of the people. I saw something the other day in a textbook for children. And in this textbook, they were already comparing complexions, skin complexions. So you are light, or you are fair, and you are dark. Or she's darker, or he's darker than she is. In a textbook, a workbook. So this is another way to begin to separate people, because in subverting people, you have to begin to separate people and let them know that one is better than the other by whatever means, where economically, visually, by way of religion, by way of education, by complexion, also in class, you know. They begin to work on you in this way, and they create the division. They create a divide. That's the way they begin to conquer. And in a family situation, maybe you get involved with someone, they throw you a little love, and then they begin telling you some things about yourself that makes you begin to doubt yourself, begin to lose your self-esteem in that way. And then they begin to separate you from your family by speaking certain things about your family, speaking ill about your family, or saying what your family's doing and what they're not doing. And then before you know it, you built a wedge between you and your family. Now, I'm not saying there may not need to be a wedge between you and your family. I'm just using this as an example. So you then separate yourself from the people that you supposedly love, and you begin to fall into this place where now you're doubting yourself. You're wondering if you make right decisions. Some people get to the point where they're saying, they forgot their names. They don't even remember their names. They lose themselves so much in this process that they forget who they are. And this is the same thing when you're dealing in subverting a nation or a people or a class of people. You begin to get them to a point where they forget who they are. And then they begin to pick sides. They do this in America, Democrat, Republican. Oh, all the Democrats are mad at the Republicans, and all the Republicans are angry with the Democrats. And they just divided everyone. So then they can create a fight. They can create a wedge. They can form a wedge between the two groups. Before you know it, you're in the house with someone that loves this side and the other one loves that side, but because they picked the side, now they're having issues in their relationships because one is for something and the other one isn't. This is subverting people. They do it with your children. Oh, we should be able to do this and do that, and parents are not allowing this, so we need to be against the parents now. They are now separate and wondering who they are. And so they pick this thing that has been planted for them to be a part of, and then they make that what their solidarity to, that their loyalty is to this idea of something, an ideology. They glued themselves to that ideology, or they became that particular thing. They're no longer thinking in terms, no, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I am not this thing or that or this or that, and needing to fight my brothers and sisters because someone made a decision that we needed to go at war with each other for what? For what? Because I need to be a part of this group that someone created? We have to stop and think about what we are doing with ourselves and how we are taking on the nonsense that people are putting out to say, who came up with that anyway? Who decided? Who came up with that and said this is what, did the energy that flows through us come in and say, oh, we're going to divide? Perhaps. Everyone is playing their part, right? So anyway, quick word, Choice here. Thank you so much for joining me again for another session of Choice Spirit. Uh, yeah, this is really interesting. Much love. Namaste.